Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Skytale Insights. Very excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking social media today, which is a very exciting subject. We're so pleased to have Mary Robb on. Mary is the CEO and founder of Social Practice, a marketing agency with a focus on social media and healthcare, with a very strong focus on medical aesthetics. And I think I see dental on there as well, Mary, so clearly branching out into others. That's exciting. Prior to founding Social Practice, Mary had worked for approximately a decade at various advertising and marketing roles. And that's where she discovered the opportunity and the gap in the market to really have social media as a service line, and founded Social Practice in 2019. So thanks again, Mary. Excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Hearing you read that bio, it just blows my mind that social media is even a full-time job and how relevant it's become to all of us. So I'm so excited about the conversation today.
I am as well. You know, I'll start with this. A few weeks ago, I was talking to someone whom I respect quite a bit, and she mentioned that maybe a decade or more ago, the website was kind of the epicenter of everything, right? I mean, if I wanted to learn about you, if I wanted to learn about Social Practice, I would go out to a website. But then she said something interesting. She said, today it's really, social media is kind of your new website. That's where people go. And I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? That's so true. I rarely go to a website. In fact, I don't know that I'd been to Social Practice's website until like yesterday, when I was just like, let's see what else I can dig up. I go to your Instagram, to your LinkedIn and so forth to learn about you, to learn about Social Practice. So, do you agree with that? And if so, like, why do you think that is? What is it about social media that's kind of at the center of everything now?
Yeah, that's a great question because that's actually how this company came to be. So the last job I was at, it was a website SEO Google ad agency, and they do a phenomenal job and help their clients rank really well. However, the demand continues to grow on the social media side because with the use of iPhones and mobile devices and the way that consumers shop these days, we're so used to the website structure. We know that it's just like your online business card. It's the photo, the bio. But that's not enough for the average consumer today to make a buying decision. In the aesthetics industry, especially, the services and procedures that we're selling and that we're marketing, the patients want to know who the providers truly are. They want to see them in their day-to-day. They want to know their training, their expertise, the results they drive, and they also want to get a feel for just their personality and the culture of the business. And so when you're looking at just how we're all shopping in general, we're going to social media to really scope these businesses out, these practices out, so that we can make the best decision. And time is money. And at the end of the day, people they're going to take the time to research you before they pick up the phone or schedule a consult, because they want to know, is this a legit practice? Do they have their lights on? Do they have good results? So.
Yeah, that's great. And then, I like to start with a definition, and probably obvious to you, but I just want to frame it up. If I'm listening, or even my sitting here today, what is social media? What is it in your mind? What does it encompass when we're talking about this subject?
I think it's a relationship building platform, first and foremost. And it's a place to tell your story. It's a place to share the mission that you are on, the purpose that you have, your values. And it's truly just a place to connect when it's used correctly. There have been so many relationships and opportunities that I have found through social media that I otherwise would have never had access to. So it's such a cool time to be alive because we can make connections all over the world. So yeah, that would be my definition.
It's a great definition. And I think that also explains why I would want to go there versus a website that you would control, because I actually feel, to your point, like I get to know you, and I can be across the world, and I can even reach out to you. So that's exciting. from a big umbrella perspective, without going too deep, because then I'm hoping we get deep into some of these subjects, but
Yeah.
thinking of it like from an umbrella, what's your overall like content strategy, or however you want to define it, social media strategy, when you get started? How should one think of that as you're starting to lay on the pillars?
So you want to have clarity around your, again, mission, vision, values first and foremost. You also need to have clarity around your target client, and you want to get as specific as possible. I like to look at 3 different personas because this is going to help how you structure who you're speaking to. When we're looking at content, we want the things that we're sharing to resonate with our ideal target audience, and we want to always be finding ways to add value. And that's the real algorithm hack, if you will, is the algorithms, the search engines, they're getting smarter. As consumers of these devices, we're getting smarter. We're looking for the best possible answer within the smallest amount of time. So as content creators, as business owners, we need to be coming up with ideas that are groundbreaking, that are inspiring, that are encouraging your audience to take action or leaving them feeling a certain way. So I like to start with more of like almost that branding strategy, if you will. And then once you have your foundation there of the mission, vision, values, ideal patient, ideal audience, then we want to go into your content pillars. So pillars can also be referred to as categories, but we want to make sure that we're shining a light on all aspects of who we are and who our business is. And so you can have a pillar around your team culture. You can have a pillar around the procedures that you offer and really educating patients on those things. You can have a pillar around the sales and promotions that you guys offer. So breaking it out into categories, and again, we call it pillars, that really helps. And then that's when you start researching and brainstorming on actual topics to put in each pillar. But you want to evenly distribute your content so that you're hitting on a different pillar every day. I love the idea of Monday through Friday. Monday's one pillar, Tuesday's another, Wednesday's another, and then you just have that same structure each week. Especially for busy business owners, the more structure we have, the better. So that's where I would start.
Interesting. I like the concept of, by the way, when I said pillars earlier, I had no idea you used that terminology as well. So that's fascinating. We're aligned there. I love that, the thought of a pillar every day, if you will. It takes bias away too, because I imagine I like some pillars more than others. So
Exactly.
I love anything that gets closer to automation, and it sounds very holistic. The way that you described it. You mentioned algorithm in there a few times. Can you pull the curtain back a little bit? I've always wondered, when we post something, like what matters? What brings it to people's attention? Is it likes? Is it followers? And does it have to be authentic followers? Can it be bot? I mean, I see people that have like 2 billion followers and recognize no names. So like, what is the algorithm?
So the algorithm is not as complicated as people like to make it out to seem like it's this big bear. And, we've had social media now for, gosh, I had my first, what was it, Zanga, and then MySpace when I was 12 and I'm 32. So 20 years we've had social media, and at least. And so with that in mind, I found that there's 3 key things that influence your success on social media. That's how I like to frame it, because the algorithm, they're always playing with it. But what I've noticed is it's always focused on how these apps can keep the user logged on to the app for the most amount of time, because that's how they make money, right? So when they sell ads, they can increase prices based on time spent through the users and through the apps. So the algorithm's just always looking for, how do we keep users logged on as long as possible? So with that said, I found that there's 3 key things that are consistent across all channels. It's content, consistency, and community. So the content piece is a big one. This is where I think a lot of people spend most of their time. And that's, what is your content? What's the quality of the content? How is it adding value? Are you remaining relevant? Are you speaking of the newest latest things? Are you being innovative? Um, how is the content being captured? Is it through a professional camera? Are you using good lighting? Um, and just making sure that the quality of the content is huge. So Instagram released a statement because there's been a lot of talk lately about views are down, likes are down, comments are down, and there's an argument to be made. It's because of the Olympics and it's because it's summer, and it's like we hear all these things. But Instagram made a statement that the content that drives engagement will naturally see better reach. So really, we're just in a season where we have to be very creative and very intentional with the things that we're putting out there. And this happened in the website world, when we were doing a million blog posts and keyword stuffing, and it was like, we're just checking the box, and then someone reads the article and they're like, I don't know what I just read. It told me nothing. Social media is the same way. They're really looking for creators. And as a business owner, we're creators. We have these channels who put out content that's engaging and, again, inspires an action or a feeling. So we just, we're being called to be more creative and more intentional. So that's more around like the content piece. And then there's the consistency. So kind of tying back into what I said earlier about how these apps make money, we need to be consistently showing up on the apps. I'm a big fan of at least Monday through Friday, putting out a new piece of content, making sure you're quickly responding to people that reach out in the DMs and the comments. And you think about, if you compare one med spa to 5 of the other local ones, if there's one across the street that's only posting once or twice a week, but then you have these others that are posting every day, they're going to get more visibility because Instagram does favor, and social media favors the creators who are more active because you're giving more content into the algorithm, which then is potentially leading to more people staying on the app longer. So consistency is a big one, and that's where like having this strategy and this structure of execution is important, because I know that's really difficult. And then there's the community aspect. And this is the area where I see most business owners struggle the most, because this is a time commitment. So I was at a Like to Know It conference years ago, and one of the influencers who has millions of followers talked about how she spends 4 to 6 hours a day strictly building her community. So building a community means, wild, right? And she said that she did it, and I'm 99% sure she definitely has an assistant because she's so big. But, it's one of those things where this is tying back to what we talked about in the very beginning. Social media is a relationship building platform. And so to be successful, you have to be spending time on a daily basis, not just responding to people who are reaching out to you, but reaching out to new people, building new relationships. It's so, so, so important. You can't just put a piece of content up and then log off and call it a day, because that's not what the algorithm's wanting you to do, and that's not what the apps are intended for. They're intended to create connections. And that is an algorithm factor. They'll see that you're commenting, that you're liking, that you're messaging, that you're, building these relationships, and that will also help your visibility. So, the 3 C's: content, consistency, and community.
There you have it. That's fascinating. I mean, I didn't know you had to post every day. That's fascinating. But the pillars that you mentioned, the posting every day, kind of leads to that. So thank you for that. And then, how do you view then, if we dig deep a little bit, how do you view paid social versus organic social? Like, if I'm trying to decode here the algorithm, like, okay, now how do you view that one?
Yeah, I brought some notes because I want to make sure I speak very factual here, because, of course, I have my opinion. So there's 2 types of paid media you can do on social. You can boost content, or you can do an ad campaign. And where you want to start is you want to figure out, what is your main goal? Is it to drive new patients? Is it to get more followers? Is it to get more likes and comments on a specific post? So with boosted posts, that is a very easy thing you can do. You take a post that you like, that you want to get more likes and comments and engagement on, you put a budget behind it, maybe $25, $50, and it boosts that post to your audience so that it gets more eyeballs and more engagement. Typically, it's not a lead generation activity, though, and that's where there's a lot of confusion in the space. It's a low time commitment. It's a very easy thing you can do. You can do it from your phone. but it's not primarily designed to drive leads. Now, when we have clients that say, we have a new provider and we need to get 40 new patients this month, that's when we're going to look at an ad campaign. So an ad campaign is where we build out 10 to 15 ad sets. Now, these are graphics and videos, and social ads are very different than Google ads. Google ads are based on keyword searches. Social ads are based on behaviors and demographics. So we can get very specific with our audience, which I personally love. But we come up with 10 to 15 different ad sets. So that's videos, graphics, photos, and those all are tied to an offer that someone claims, and it's all designed for lead gen. So there's a landing page, there's a call to action, there's a form fill so that they can enroll in the client's CRM, and the intention there is to drive new patients.
All right. I did not know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
there was a difference between boosting and the ad campaign.
Yep.
And then, organic, how do you view that? Or, I guess, is there good ROI on that in actually paying compared to I'm just going to try to do it and see what happens? Yeah?
Oh, yeah. So the way that you can track ROI on social media, this is one thing. It's kind of part of being a trailblazer in the social media agency world is the agencies I've worked at in the past, a huge part of the reason they didn't want to touch social media is it is hard to track ROI. It's not black and white. So what we can look at and what we have control over is we can look at phone calls. We can put a call tracking number on the campaign. We look at DMs and we can track that and see and enroll them in the CRM. And then we can track the form fills that are completed through the link in the bios. So there's kind of 3 different ways that people can actually submit their information in their lead. So that's what we look at. The other piece to it is sometimes people might see your social and then Google you later and come through your website. But we have definitely found, I know just last week we were talking with one of our plastic surgeons out in Denver, and last month they had a $14,000 mommy makeover and then an $18,000 mommy makeover, something else, a larger procedure from 1 month of content posting. So it absolutely can deliver an ROI. You have to be strategic though, and the 3 factors that I mentioned earlier are so important. A lot of times when clients are not seeing success on social, it's typically because they're kind of falling short in one of those 3, if not multiple of those 3 things that I mentioned.
Of the 3 C's.
Yeah, the 3 C's.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm thinking, there's some work we can do too, so that's exciting. So that's the KPI tracking, which is helpful. Now, you track KPIs to your goals, and earlier you mentioned, I think, when we were talking about the organic versus paid, of like, what is the goal? Is it more followers? Is it more patients? Am I correct in stating that? And I'd love your opinion. I have mine, and I'll give it. Like. To me, it should always be patience, right? I mean, followers are nice, but ultimately, if I'm a practice owner, followers don't, unless you're a huge influencer, I imagine. But for typical people like us, like followers don't pay the bills. It's the patience in the door. What do you see when you ask your clients that, like, what's the goal here? How do they respond? And then also, like, what's your opinion and how do you guide that to get to agreement there?
Yeah, that's another very common question. Traditionally, I've been a huge fan of paid ads over boosted posts. We are working in a service-based industry, so I've kind of changed my opinion recently. I actually met with Joshua, who is on your team, because he had a client that boosted every single post. And as we started looking at it more, there are a lot of benefits to it. The thing with social media, it's very similar to advertising. We just have to consistently get in front of people. They have to see you over and over and over again. So I do think that there can be benefit. If there's an immediate need for patient leads, then I'm always going to say, okay, paid ads right now. If it's a little bit more like, we just want to grow our visibility and we want to just get in front of more people, I do believe from recent conversations, boosted posts can help lead to that, but it's not going to be an instant transaction. So it's just going to be about, they're going to see you over and over again, and then some of those people might end up following you, and then that's where they'll convert, is maybe they'll DM you, but it's just structured very differently.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, so going down the trend line of, you mentioned KPIs, how do we measure it?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen, part of our business, so this is a selfish question as well, but I think
Yeah.
it benefits all of us. Part of our business is, we like to scale, grow, and sell businesses. How do you view that? Like, how can social media be leveraged for that? Both from, as you're growing, which you've touched on a lot, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, like, as investors start talking to us, right? And our clients, like, how, what are ways to really boost that and present it well to where they see, a big value in that piece of their organization?
Yeah, I think, when you're looking at a practice selling or being acquired, there's the risk of after the transaction's complete, is the brand, is the market shares, the exposure going to remain intact? What team do they currently have that's managing the brand and the presence? Social media is essentially the new age PR, and it's social media is a combination of advertising, marketing, and PR. It's pretty interesting. And when I was in school, we had those three options, and now they have social media as a major, which is wild. So it's a little bit of all three of those things, which does make our job unique and interesting and challenging and fun. But so what I would look at, especially as an investor, is we need to have a strong brand and we need to have a foundation in place before considering getting acquired, because having an elevated marketing campaign and strategy and brand is only going to increase the value of the business that's being sold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it's kind of like insurance. It's like, okay, we're going to go through this, but we already have this, amazing rock star campaign running. We've already got all these patients that are plugged in and following us. We've got a culture, we've got a team, we've got followers who are just committed to us. We've got essentially fans. That's really, really helpful, and that will help drive the business forward. So, and just the nature of the work that we do, it's so visual and it's so results oriented and it's so based. It can be very subjective. So that's where social media really helps.
Yes, yeah, and you mentioned something interesting there, that it's now a major, and it's the new PR, and it combines what historically has been multiple different disciplines.
Yeah.
So to me, when you said that, I was like, okay, it sounds like something that's continuing to evolve and grow into something new every day. So going down that path maybe a little bit, what new trends do you see, or what's coming? What are things that we should keep in mind if we want to stay ahead of folks that are maybe a year behind us or just catching up?
Yeah. So video. The more video you can do, the better. The thing about video, you can use ChatGPT to help you with this, is you have to be short and to the point and also specific and include tangible takeaways. And we need to look at the value that this video is providing. And it's not easy. And we do this for our clients. We do 15 to 20 shoots a month now. And, when we're on set, we build set lists with the bullet points so that they can get the information out, because we only have 30 to 60 seconds to really capture someone's attention. Essentially, we have 5 to 7 seconds to get their attention. So we need to lead with a hook.
Wow. But
then we need to make sure that what's in the video is high value. I'm a huge fan of 3 bullet points. It's easy, it's simple, it's to the point. An intro, a hook, 3 bullet points, and a call to action. So now that I learned this information, what do you want me to do with it? Video is going to be huge. Back to what Instagram said about just, people have been complaining about the traffic being down and the engagement being down. The value of the content is huge, so we have to get creative. I know that it's easy and tempting to want to rinse and repeat other people's content, but the more original you can be, the more authentic you can be, the better. And people don't fully realize this, but whenever you're showing up on social media and you're being a masked version of yourself, or you're not being fully authentic, you don't draw in as much energy. Again, it's a relationship building platform. It's an energy transaction. And so the accounts that perform the best are the people that are being genuine to themselves and authentic, and that's what people connect to. So that's a huge thing that's really worth spending time in. And I know that it can be intimidating. I know that it's hard to be vulnerable, or it feels vulnerable, right? Because you're like on camera and you're like, oh, I feel so. Some people get really insecure about it. But At the end of the day, if you have big goals to grow and scale, this is going to be a huge part of your strategy, because people are buying from you as a service provider. And this is where that needs to shine through: your personality, your authenticity, and whatnot. The other thing I did want to mention is, if you need help with coming up with content ideas, we have a newsletter called The Social Pulse, and you can subscribe to it through our Instagram channel, Social Practice US. And we talk about the top trends on social media. We talk about what's trending in aesthetics. We link viral audios and viral memes just to kind of get everybody, somewhere to start. But that's those two main things right now are just the value of the content and video. Oh, I'm sorry, there's three. And then authenticity. Those three things are going to really move the needle.
Right. How often does the social post come out?
So the social pulse comes out once a month.
Once a month. Okay.
Yes.
I'll have to subscribe to that.
Yes,
that
you
sounds,
should.
Extremely valuable. I'm always fascinated by this. I don't know exactly how it works. So this has been, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So video, why does video do better than if I write a paragraph to you?
It's more engaging, and it's a quicker transaction. It's easier to consume the content by watching it versus reading it. So I do believe that's part of it, and it's more entertaining, and it's more attention grabbing. And the way that the apps are working too, they just make it so easy to see the videos.
Yes.
So that's been my experience. That's why companies like, I think it's genius y'all are doing the podcast, because now you can get sound bites, like video content. Podcasts are a really easy way to get more video content for your social media. But
very nice.
Yeah.
And you mentioned AI in there as you were going through things. How do you use that? Like, how do we think of AI merging with, with this?
With social media.
Mm-hmm.
So we love AI. It is so freaking cool. And it just makes things more efficient. And it honestly creates more space for us to be more creative, because creatives don't like the structure. They just want to be creative, right? So the AI tools that we love, if you don't like to do graphic design, or you're not super talented at it, Canva has the magic design tool. It'll spit out a bunch of designs for you. So that's a really great one. Copy AI and ChatGPT. We use ChatGPT quite a bit for brainstorming on content topics. That really helps a lot. And then, I like to put prompts in there like, what are the 10 most common questions patients are asking about Botox? Or what's the number one question people have around doing sculpture? Just kind of putting in different ideas for it to spit out. There's AI powered video editing tools. I use Splice for my personal Instagram, and it now will automatically edit video. Lumen 5 is another one I haven't tried, but I brought some in here today that I wanted to share. Loomly and Sprout Social are both tools that have AI integrated. So Loomly is a content planning and scheduling tool. So you can look at your content calendar, read captions and whatnot, and schedule. Sprout Social is similar, but you can have AI tools to help you start captions off. And then another one that we really like is called Mini Chat. So let's say that you're doing an offer. Let's say, you're running a Botox special this month. You can write a post that says, comment the word Botox to claim the offer, and then it automatically DMs that person, if they comment, the link to book an appointment with their discount code. So that's another great way to use AI for social media, but the tools keep evolving and they keep getting better and better.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love it when people come on and give things that are immediately valuable. And I'm going to have to go listen to this again and take notes and check these out, because, we're always looking at ways to be more efficient and, similar to the 5 pillars, 1 pillar every day. I mean, you're talking about automating things, taking things off of humans that they could maybe do higher level work. So that's, extremely exciting. You've told us a lot. How would you, I don't know if your 3 bullet points or what have you may be appropriate here, but how do you view, kind of the overall social media strategy? Like, How would you do those strategies if you were to combine them and I were to take action on some of these things that you've given us?
Yeah, so it is very much tied to the 3 C's. I always like to start with the content plan, the content strategy, if you will. So mapping that out, that's getting your pillars established, your content topics established, and then putting it into an actual content calendar. So you start there. I like to plan 1 month to 3 months at a time. And then the next thing would be content batching is a huge time saver. So blocking off half a day, a full day, maybe an hour to capture all the videos and photos that are now in that content calendar versus trying to capture it on the fly. That's really difficult. And you're not always feeling creative. So you want to do it on a day where you have the space and the time to really just be present and create the content. The other piece you have to consider is the editing time. Editing time is typically 2 to 3 times longer than the amount of time it took to create the video or film the video or capture the photo. So you want to block that into the schedule too. And then you would once you get that completed, you would go in and write all of your captions. And then that's kind of like the simple version of our process. We use scheduling tools so that the posts go out every single day. And then when it comes to your strategy for community engagement, we've built basically this document that really just gives specific places where our community manager can go and find dream patients for our clients. So we look at hashtags, we look at check-ins, we look at influencers, we look at followers of followers, and then we have an individual person assigned to going after that list every single day. It's kind of like an inside sales rep, like old school version, or that's what we used to call them. I mean, their job is is outreach every single day. So having that included in your strategy, and if you're not in a place to hire and outsource that, through an agency like ours, you can easily find people on Indeed or hire a college student or like an intern. I mean, it's very similar to the other roles in the practice, like the community outreach coordinator, maybe the same person that goes out and drops gift baskets off at other referring practices. Like that type of person can handle that piece. But yeah, those are the pieces I would consider.
That's good. I like how you broke down that day of content batching, I think you called it. I love that. I'm wondering, how do you come up? So there's the pictures, the videos, and so forth. How does one come up with the content? Like, I would think that's step one, right? Is like, I think folks want to know about X. Do I write a big article first and then take my key points for that? Or how would you recommend going about that?
So first we'll look at, again, like what are those pillars? And then under each pillar, I always like to see like what's trending right now? What's the hot topic? What are people asking about? You can go into Google, you can go into social media, TikTok, Reels, see what's really trending. You can look at your competitors and see what's working best for them, because you can see all the numbers and see what videos are getting the most traction. And then when it comes to writing the caption, it really depends on the type of post it is. Reels do not need long captions. In fact, they shouldn't have long captions. The bulk of the content in a reel or a video should be the actual video, and the caption just supports whatever is being shared in the video. I'm a huge fan of carousel graphics. That's where you scroll through. So that's like a similar like blog post style. So that's essentially a social media blog post, and you break it down into like key tangible tips, takeaways. A photo that can have a little bit of a longer caption. I've noticed, people who post a real, raw, authentic photo and then they have like a long, genuine caption. Those types of posts tend to do pretty well, depending on the subject. And then with graphics, those are the ones that don't perform very well typically, but they are necessary at times, and that just depends on what's in the graphic and what type of caption it is that you need. But
careful with graphics. There we go.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned, if someone's ready to hire you or not. How should we think about this? I would guess social media is part of your overall marketing budget. Like, any guidance on what should my marketing budget be? And then within that, what part of the marketing budget should social media make up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I would ask you that. Maybe we could have a debate. No, I think we're pretty aligned.
Yeah.
But in my experience in the aesthetics industry, it's cash pay, fee for service. The numbers that I hear is 10 to 12% of your revenue if you're wanting to grow. I've heard up to 25% if you're in startup mode and really got to get out there and I say 10 to 12% of your annual revenue. So to make numbers easy, let's say you want to do $1 million in revenue. So you need to be investing about $100,000 a year in marketing, which breaks down to about what, 10,000 a month, 12,000 a month ish, somewhere around there. And from that, I found that 25 to 33% of the budget is really the sweet spot for social. It absolutely has to be one of the top 3 things you're doing, if not top 2. I mean, aside from your website and ads. So that's how we space it out.
That's super helpful. I've actually never thought of, within marketing, what should go to each one of those buckets. So
Yeah.
I was really curious what you were going to say. So 25 to 30%, which really what that means is social media is extremely important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then, we talked about the evolution. If you were to put on your futuristic hat, we talked about the website kind of giving way to social media as the center. How do you view it in 5-10 years? Is something going to replace social media, or is social media going to evolve into something else? Like, how should I start thinking about this if I'm, looking at the organization, 5 years out, let's say?
Yeah, I think social media is going to replace Google. I think it's going to replace all search engines. It's how people, again, are shopping. They want the most specific, real answer they can possibly find, and social media is like a live action feed of what's going on. So, Instagram just rolled out the keyword search function, which is so cool, by the way. We searched Botox Dallas, plastic surgery Dallas, all that stuff, and our clients were popping up. We were so excited.
Oh, wow.
But it's truly functioning like Google. So with that in mind, it's getting comfortable, being consistent, putting yourself out there. You don't have to wait for you to be perfect. It's just all about starting. In regards to the future, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think it's going to keep evolving. With Google search function, now you see that when you Google something, it has that little AI answer for you now instead of it going into all the top 10 spots on the first page. That is very similar to how the social media search function is working as well, but they're filtering in reels, graphics, photos, and it's learning your behavior to see what type of content will resonate the best with you. So, that's exactly why I got into this space, though, is I started to see the website and Google traffic and attention. It was a heavy focus on that, and what I'm seeing now is it's like a 50-50 split. They're equally as important. There's definitely still a need for websites. It is a place that people go to find information and answers, but it's not more important than your social media.
That's great. Yeah, I love what you said about personalizing and learning your behaviors. That's such a good point because, as you said, Google, it's like top 10, right? And everyone wants to be on the top 10.
Yep.
This is different. This is what I know Mary Robb likes.
Yeah.
Versus here's her top 10. You may not have an interest in any of these. I love that. That's a great comment. I didn't know that. Although I guess I should because I can tell. Yeah. So this has been fascinating. Is there anything, Mary Robb, that I forgot to ask you that you want to touch upon?
I don't think so. I think we kind of hit on everything. This is there's one small tip. It's not a huge thing, but this is something we just kind of rolled out is I can leave you guys with one more tangible tip if that's cool
I
with
would
you.
love that.
Okay. So the social media bios, there is a difference between your username and your profile name. And if you are a geographic-based business, so you really want to reach people in your local market, your username, not like what people search in the search bar, like our username is Social Practice US. Your profile name should include the city that you're in if you're marketing to that specific city, and that's going to help you with social media SEO. So there's a lot of talk right now about how to SEO your social media profile. So that's just something I can leave everybody with, and that's just cleaning up your bio. It's making sure that, again, you have that city name and the profile name. You definitely want to have your new patient special in the bio and or membership info so that when people at first glance see you, like that's what you can convert new patients faster. And just starting to really think through, you want the content to be original and creative and authentic for sure, but think about the people who don't know you and are trying to find you, what keywords are they searching, what topics are they interested in, and tying those two together so that your profile pops up for people, I think is definitely a great area to focus right now.
Especially with the industry that we serve, right? I mean, our patients come from, 10, 15-mile radius for the most part. So extremely important. And actually something I've always wondered and have actually asked my friends who are practice owners or our clients, it's like, how exactly do all these followers translate into, do they sit in your chair? And spend money. And so that city piece is such a key one because, that's where I would want everyone to focus on me if I owned a practice. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Well, Mary Robb, how do I get a hold of you?
So you can find my business on social media. Just look up Social Practice US. You'll see a group of girls. We're mostly in blues and neutrals and whites. My personal social media is also public. So it's Mary Elizabeth Robb on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Mary Robb. Our website is social-practicetx.com. And I will mention our podcast, The Aesthetic Edit. We're going to launch season 2 in January, but we had you on, and it was such a good episode, by the way. People need to go back and listen to it. It was the 9th episode of season 1. But it's called The Aesthetic Edit. You can find that on social media as well.
Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people will be reaching out to you. And by the way, I loved that podcast. It was so well run, by the way. I mean, I was taking notes. I clearly have not implemented any of it, but it was so well run. I was very impressed with everything you did, the thought y'all put into it. And really like the pageantry around it is almost the way that it felt. So thanks for having me on. And thanks for coming on today, Mary. This was fascinating. I know I learned so much. You gave us a lot of actual tangible information that we can enact, even before calling you. So, always appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming on, Mary.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was such a pleasure. And I look forward to hopefully doing it again soon.
Yes, definitely. Looking forward to it as well. And thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Skytale Insights. We hope you got something good out of it today, and please feel free to follow us. Have a good day.